Dear friends, welcome to the East-West Show, exclusively sponsored by Paul Batanley, world-renowned brand, Italian brand of men's suit. I'm wearing one. Paul Batanley, thank you for sponsoring. And with the support, we combine the efforts together to make the show great. Thank you very much again. Back to the show. Today is the first show after the Chinese American Film Festival on the celebration of its 12th anniversary. And of course, by the way, as we speak, films are being screened in several theaters in Southern California. If you happen to be in Alhambra, though, or nearby Alhambra, or close to Alhambra, you may pick Edward Theater to see. There are lots of wonderful films. For that, we give our gratitude to Mr. James Su, founder and CEO of the Chinese American Film Festival. And I'm not the only one saying that. During the whole thing, people all say that. And today, with my good friend, personally, I take him as not only a friend, but a brother. And
Thank
also, he himself is one of the greatest artists in my mind. So his name is Chris Nibby. Welcome to the show, sir.
谢谢你老朋友.
See, he's even better. He speaks some Chinese. All right, good. Mr. Chris Nibby, if I would go back a little bit, of course, I let him do the major part. He's wonderful. He himself, for the past 10 years, involved in a series of 18 films called Mysterious China. And among them, there are lots of masterpieces that's been recognized internationally. And for that, of course, I appreciate, and a lot of my audiences in the tens of millions appreciate for his contribution to humanity. For that, my salute. Okay. Good, very good, like that. All right, thank you, sir.
Okay.
He's supporting not emotionally, but artificially. I mean, artistically, not artificially, artistically, and he has done so many. I would like to ask you to give your general comment about this year's Chinese American Film Festival, please.
It is very difficult to have a festival, a film festival. There was a time where in the whole world there were about 25 to 30 festivals. Mm-hmm. There were Cannes, Venice, mm-hmm. Berlin, and some in Asia. Mm-hmm. But now there is an inflation of festivals, mm-hmm. and it's very difficult to break even on the cost because mm-hmm. it's very expensive, takes a lot of effort. Mm-hmm. And what James Su did is a minor miracle, mm-hmm. because unfortunately, as we all know, the American media is not very much in favor of China, mm-hmm. and tries to always minimize anything culturally coming out of China, and does not really appreciate the epic cultural heritage of China, right. mm-hmm. which not only Americans have that mistake, but unfortunately also the Europeans. Mm-hmm. And the Europeans have forgotten that they have done a lot of damage to China mm-hmm. during the imperial colonial times, mm-hmm. where they, especially the British, just think about the Opium War.
You are right.
Have created tremendous suffering in China. Mm-hmm. And of course, the Japanese in World War II added their share. Mm-hmm. So the whole information about China is imperfect, very little known, and it needed some balanced information. Mm-hmm. So that's why we created the Mysterious China series, mm-hmm. which now has over 50 international awards, mm-hmm. and is very successful with American audiences because they see something mm-hmm. nobody else has ever shown or discussed with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that comment. And by the way, as a member of the Chinese American Film Festival myself, though, I appreciate the fact that you tried so much with your efforts and most of the time, or some of the time, at least the majority of the time, you did it out of your own money to get this promoted, get this known by the Western world. Now that you mentioned this whole area, though, we might kick in for a question that, in your mind, though, how much the American audiences is being ignorant about what the other countries, such as Europe, such as Japan, including the United States during the early 50s, have done or had done to China, please?
Yes, because you see, the American people in general, the majority, as you witnessed now during the election cycle, today is a very important day.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Which is being watched by the world, and whoever wins and however it's going to go, it's not going to go into the right direction, because America has one major mistake, and that is that they really believe that they're exceptional. They're exceptional, and the geopolitics are, as far as I'm concerned, a catastrophe.
I see.
As witnessed just now what goes on in the Middle East, that was all initiated by America. And it goes on and on and on, and we don't want to go into this because there is a lot to be said. But the major thing is that Americans in general, because they feel so exceptional, that they really don't care about other countries unless it concerns themselves.
The interest group.
Interest group. A very good example is the fact that in America, China is being blamed for taking jobs away, which is totally wrong.
Okay.
American companies went to China because they could create their products cheaper in China than they could do here, and for the reason of profit, they went to China.
Labor cost, and pollution cost.
They didn't care about their own labor; they just thought about profits.
Okay.
Now, as in China, the salaries go up. Now they go to other countries, so it's a profit motive. So to blame China that they have taken jobs away is ridiculous. One thing. And as you all heard in the recent election, there was one theme which both candidates sort of belabored all the time. So China is, as far as their public relations is concerned in America, in a very difficult spot, because whatever they do whatever they do good is not appreciated, and whatever happens there, which may be problematic, is put out of proportion. And I mean, I've been in China.
Enlarged.
Yes, I've been in China 100 times. Yes, there is pollution. There is a lot of problems. After all, China is a developing nation. But they are trying very hard to do the right thing. And one thing which in America is never really recognized and appreciated, China in less than 40 years lifted 700 million people out of poverty. This has never been done in
now 1.3 billion already.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
You know?
And Chris, I highly appreciate your comment, your summary. Not only because that I am a Chinese American being Chinese origin, but more to the fact that I want to play fair.
Yes.
I want to play fair.
That's simple.
I want to act fair. The reason I did not mention today, because by the way, today is the day of your day. Well, today is my disappointment day, because I finally decided to give up. Although none of them, because none of them is the one that, to my eye, is who the United States wants. That's why I prevented to mention that. Now that you mentioned, I owe my audience an explanation why you started the show without mentioning the great day of November the 8th.
But you should vote for a third party. There is the dual
of
spine
course,
of the Green Party that you should do.
Yeah,
because
I
you
would
see,
probably consider
the
that.
American political system needs a third
But
party.
I know for sure that wouldn't work anyway. All right,
she will not win.
That's why I totally give up.
But you shouldn't.
To give
that
up.
you
Thank
shouldn't
you very
do.
much for mentioning that. All right. So, my dear audience, today we are doing a retrospect of the Chinese American Film Festival, and with a involver who's been with the festival and for, let's see, 3 or 4 years.
No. I've been. I think I won five awards.
5 awards.
5 awards
and
for
this is
best
your 6th
documentary.
year, right?
And this is my 6th year.
Okay,
yeah.
very good. And with Mr. Chris Nebe, my good friend and a artist that I respect so much, we started with the first segment. Well, later on, when we come back with the second segment, I would like really to get in touch with Ground Zero, how he started with this wonderful series of Mysterious China that won more than 50 awards internationally, to find out how and where and when it started, this whole thing as Ground Zero. Stay with us, please. Hello, my dear audience. This is lovely, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the East-West Show, exclusively sponsored by Paul Battaglia. Paul Battaglia represents for a international renowned Italian men's suit, very stylish, that combines class, fashion, art, and also with what they call nanotech technology, which makes the fabric so smooth, water resistant. If you spill your coffee, the water rolls away like that kind. And then the elbow never pops up because it's stretchable. All right, thank you, Paul Battaglia, for sponsoring. Okay, back to the show. My dear friend Chris Nebe, a wonderful filmmaker of Hollywood. He is a director slash producer slash writer slash everything in the area of films, who has a great reputation of his wonderful series that has 18 wonderful episodes named Mysterious China. My question is, when you started the whole subject, of course, in connection with my previous question, that you found that somebody is being mistreated, so you want to get it right. So you want to go to archives, right? At which point did you decide to do so, please?
It was actually a lucky incident because I had was invited to a dinner here in the area, and there was a president of Yunnan TV there, and I asked him, "You have so many minorities, you must have a lot of documentaries about it." He said, "Yes." So I said, "What do you do with them?" He said, "We broadcast them, and then we put them in our library." So I said, "I'd like to come and see what you have, and maybe I can cut together from the material you have a film about Yunnan." So they were very happy about that because they did have no foreign connection. So I went there and I looked at about 100 hours of film, and then I created a 90-minute feature-length documentary called Marco Polo's Shangri-La. I choose Marco Polo even though he never had been in Yunnan, but I chose him because in the West Marco Polo is known, and Shangri-La is a part of Yunnan, which is in the north bordering Tibet.
All right.
So that film was very successful, and then they asked me to come back and do another one, and then I was asked to go to Qinghai and do another one called Marco Polo's Roof of the World, and another one I called Marco Polo Silk Road, and then I did Secrets of the Silk Road, and it went on and on and on. And at one time, I was very upset about the negative publicity which was received in 2008 when there was a disturbance in Tibet, and some young Chinese shop girls burned in their shop, and the media here was talking about oppression and this and this, and at the same time China was preparing for the Beijing Olympics, and that was
2008.
2008, and that was a big event for China, because that was when China really came out, so to speak.
You're right. You're right.
So I made a short commentary on YouTube, and I said to the people, cool it and just think about the reality, which is totally different than what the Dalai Lama preaches, and because Tibet before 1959 was a theocracy which Mao Zedong allowed to continue after he had consolidated China. And Tibet has been a part of China forever. It's for ancient times.
It's a minority region anyway.
Right.
Right.
So I made this commentary, and it went viral on YouTube, and I got death threats, and we will come and burn out your house down, etc., etc.
You got what?
Death threats.
Death threat.
Death threats. We will kill you, because the people were not agreeing with my point of view about that China has not done nothing wrong in Tibet. Tibet is part of China since ancient times. So, and then I decided, after that video going viral and getting the death threats and all that, that was pretty exciting. I decided, now I'll make a film. And I made a whole film about it. Also, I think it's 60 minutes.
In other words, instead of capitulating from it, you went ahead to do it in a larger way.
Right. And I found very interesting.
There's a lot of guts.
Of course, and I used my own money.
Instead of a death threat.
Yes. So I used my own money.
In spite of a death threat.
Yes, despite of the death threats. And I found very interesting material, because in America, the Freedom of Information Act gives you the possibility to look at most secret documents after 50 years.
I see.
So I found that, contrary to what the Dalai Lama says, that he had to run away from China, he did not. He was let go. It's a big difference than being a refugee or being let go, because I found material filmed by the CIA, Hollywood fashion, with the Dalai Lama, sunglasses, a scarf, on a horse, and his entourage traveling leisurely to India across the Himalayas, and there are group photos and everything, and I found the photographer who took it, etc., etc., and miraculously on the other side.
There was even a press release.
Yes.
Right?
And miraculously on the other side, at the time, there were hundreds of foreign journalists all being flown in by the CIA to meet the poor refugee. So I found that.
The quote-unquote refugee.
Yes. And then of course I illustrated the fact that until basically 1959, when the theocracy was abolished by China, 95% of the Tibetans were either slaves or serfs to the nobility and the lamas, and the lamas had basically taken over Tibet and controlled it. Because Buddhism then, when it went from Tibet to China, it changed. The Chinese transformed it into Zen Buddhism, which is a far cry from what is happening in Tibet even today. So that film was a huge success, and then I discovered, then I heard about...
What kind of a response did you receive for that film?
Oh,
Tibet?
great response.
Yeah,
the Zen
let me know something about that.
The Zen Institute in New York, only last year, while the Dalai Lama was in America, showed this film and called it the communist version of the Tibet situation. And the people, once the film was over, gave it a standing ovation. And the Zen and the Zen Institute is a very prominent Buddhist association in America.
I see. No more death threat?
No more death threats. No more death threats, because I'm still alive.
They backed up.
But the video is still there, and and the film is still there and has been run across America, very successful on public television. Then came the disturbances with the Diaoyu Islands.
Okay, let's put the Diaoyu Island when a little later.
Yeah.
I really want to milk it because
you want to milk the Tibet thing.
It is something really need milking because without enough milking, people do not know the significance.
No, they don't.
Let me say something which might indicate my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong, though.
Right.
You see that issue, you saw that issue as mystifying.
Yes.
So you went in, did your own research, thanks to the Freedom of Information Act.
Right.
You were able to get yourself the information, the footage, taken 50 years ago.
Right.
That indicates that the Dalai Lama was number one, let go, and number two, the running away was a pre-skipped, right? Well-managed thing.
Yes.
Even with a press reception.
With the press reception on the other side, miraculously, we are talking 1959, where it was difficult
and also
to go to.
1959, about the surge, right? It was well-trained, it was well managed, something like that.
Yes.
And you show those.
And also I found material which prove that the CIA trained Tibetans in a camp in Colorado, infiltrated them through India into China, and they initiated, together with the lamas and the nobles in Tibet, the 1959 uprising.
I'm surprised you didn't get a warning letter from the government.
No, I didn't. Because it's, you see, you know.
Was that your lucky or was that?
Maybe lucky, maybe, I don't know. I mean, after all, this is America and you have freedom of
course we do.
Of opinion.
Only limited. All right. Okay, my dear audiences, I'm getting excited when I learned the fact about the creation of the Tibet the Truth from the hands of this great man, Mr. Chris Nibby, a filmmaker of Hollywood, who is also my good friend. Let's take a very short moment now. When we come back, let me dig. I really have to dig. This guy is kind of lazy to save, too slow to save about himself, and I have to do the digging myself. So when we come back, we'll talk about his another masterpiece, which is the Diaoyu Island. It's a very, very controversial issue. See how he found out and how he started. So stay with us, please. Hello, my dear audiences. Welcome back to the East-West Show, exclusively sponsored by Paul Bettany, a man suit of internationally renowned Paul Bettany. Remember the name, Paul for Paul, Bettany, Benetely. Yes, thank you, Paul Bettany, for sponsoring. And back to the show. With my friend, a wonderful filmmaker of Hollywood, I would say an icon of Hollywood, Mr. Chris Nibby, we're touching his masterpieces. This man, I realize, is kind of slow in expressing himself, especially for credit, but I have to do the digging, all right? In digging, I would like to find out his another episode, which is, to my eye, a monument of his success, Diaoyu Island, the Truth, right? Something like that. Talking about the most controversial island sovereignty of Diaoyu Island that belong to China. Okay, to you, sir, once again, the same question, same pattern of question. When, where, and how did you come with the idea of doing such a great thing?
After the success of telling the truth with the because Tibet is a very controversial issue in the West, I of course got.
You're still being worked out by some You know?
Oh yeah, it's still, it will always be, because there's so much misinformation, and I mean, this is all on purpose. So I saw this is very interesting, and then I noticed that there were demonstrations about something I had no idea about, I had never heard it before, Diaoyu Islands. So I said, what is this? So then I checked it out, and there was nothing. No information on CCTV, no information in the West, and I started to research and kept looking. And to my great surprise, I found that the Diaoyu Islands, without any discussion, are Chinese territories since ancient times, and they were literally stolen by Japan. But you see, because in 1894, 95, there was the first Sino-Chinese War. The Qing dynasty lost, had to pay a huge ransom in gold to Japan, had to cede
over the
Taiwan,
sea. Over the sea.
Taiwan, and also parts of the Liaoning Peninsula, Dalian and Port Arthur, etc. They had to cede.
No, that's far away from Taiwan.
No, but also Taiwan. Taiwan here, up
Taiwan
there.
and northeast China.
Right, and that was legal, that was officially in a contract. But then there were these three totally insignificant and uninhabited islands, which Japan also collected. They were actually an extension of the Rui Kingdom. You know, Okinawa was originally the capital of an independent kingdom, which happened to be a vassal state of China.
All right.
But doing that whole thing, they collected this island and these three little islands. But these three islands were not mentioned in any agreement. So then that all went well, and as you know, over almost 100 years, they controlled a long time Taiwan for a long time, until 1949. Then when the Potsdam Declaration, the Allied forces who had won the World War II ordered Japan to return everything they had taken from China in 1895, plus anything they had taken thereafter. However, since these three islands were in no mention at all, they were not returned by America, interesting enough, and America assumed the administrative rights. Assumed. I don't know who gave them, what power gave them. They assumed.
And they took it for granted.
They took, because it was strategically wonderful. It was very close to China, and remember, in 1945, the Cold War started, so these islands had very important military
I remember
strategy.
seeing somewhere, either from your film or somewhere else,
Yeah.
that decision of giving Japan the administrative right was
America.
Yeah, I know.
That was later. They gave later in the 70s.
For the exchange of some record.
No.
Was that the same thing? Okay, go ahead.
They just kept these islands for strategic regions under American administrative rights.
Okay.
Then when they made, later on in the 70s, they made an agreement with Japan. It's called the Okinawa Agreement, which had to do with putting bases there. And for face saving, they gave the administrative rights to Japan. Then nothing. Then that was, and China constantly contested that.
Another word is the Chinese island being dealt in between the United States and Japan.
Japan, yes.
All right, good.
While China kept contesting the theft, because it's a plain theft.
All right.
Totally legal. So times went by, and then you had the disturbances, and because you had the disturbances, now remember, these islands are uninhabited. But there was a Japanese fishing family who used it as a summer spot, because they used to fish there and use it as a summer resting spot.
Resting or warehouse.
So for face saving, the Japanese bought this island from that family who didn't own it. I mean, it's just for face, for media positive media exposure. So, totally illegal, a total joke, and actually very sad. Because you see, these islands are Chinese territories, they have been Chinese territories, and they will be Chinese territories, and there's nothing they can do about it. It is a similar, in one way, it's a similar situation as I see it, the South China Sea issue. It's a similar situation.
Just leave that South China Sea a little later. I mean, all you're talking about is that you and somebody else negotiating and cut a deal, so on and so forth, over my house. Am I right?
Yes.
Right.
Right.
And you either agreed upon each other in having the house, or you or buy from him or he buy from you over my house. Am I right?
Yes. And now, you have no say to it.
How do you prove it is my house?
Because
I mean, how do you prove in the film, in your archive digging, find out, oh, it's Jack's house, something like that? Go ahead.
Because you see, China from day one kept saying this is not right. But China was powerless. Because after 1945, when all territories, legally or illegally, taken by Japan from China had to be returned. These islands...
That was an international order, was it?
That was an international order.
All right, good.
But these islands, they didn't exist. They existed, but they didn't exist on paper. And nobody knew about it. But the Americans are smart. They knew the islands are outside of any legal thing, even though China kept saying these are our islands.
Are you saying kind of like a vacuum by mistake?
Yes.
Could be.
No, a vacuum created by those
a vacuum
who win.
Created because it originally belonged to China.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah. Because you see, you remember in war, when you win, you're always right. No matter why, if you are wrong or but you win, you're right. So the winner
wins
right.
all. Winner has it.
Yes. So China was always left out, but they kept saying. But you see, China had also tremendous other worries. So this was not on the forefront. But now China is becoming well, let's say different.
Could that be the fact that China has so many islands? They don't even care. They didn't even care about.
No, they care. They cared. They kept saying. They kept saying
for some time until lately.
No. They kept saying in Potsdam. They kept saying these islands, but since the islands were not on paper, it was easy to ignore this. And secondly, don't forget 1945. Right away, the Cold War started. And China was totally isolated as far as the West and especially America was concerned. And America popped up Japan as their ally in Asia. Because Japan had lost, and they popped it up as their stooge.
You laid out all the facts in your film.
Very easy.
All right.
Actually.
All right. Easy to understand, right?
Easy to understand if
something
you
as
realize
simple as Jack's house being stolen by you, and you're negotiating with somebody
because I have power, and Jack has no power.
About my house, right? Something like that.
And
so, what's the response? Once again, what's the response after the release of such a great masterpiece?
I showed the film in Beverly Hills, and there was a lot of Chinese media there, and somehow they must have. While I was showing the film, the cinema, I believe you even were there.
Yeah, I was there, yes.
Somebody must have filmed the film, or I don't know.
The film?
Yes, filmed from the screen. You can do this with a phone.
Okay.
So then Amy, our representative in China, Madame Chen Chao, also known as Amy, called me 24 hours later and said, your film is all over the internet in China. And
your film is being filmed.
Yes, it's all over the internet in China. And then, of course, when I went to China again, there were a lot of interviews and so on. And I was very touched, actually, how much the common Chinese people appreciated that a Laowai was taking their position and fighting basically their cause, because there was nothing in the Chinese media about it.
Were you financed by anybody?
No, I did finance myself.
Okay, very good. That's the point. All right, my dear audience, today with my good friend Chris Nibby, I get myself touched because really it is no easy job to do for somebody who has nothing to do with China, with the United States, whoever, not even Japan, to get involved with his own money to have produced such a great masterpiece. I salute for that. My dear audience, let's take a short moment now. When we come back, we will continue with another and another and another episode. Wonderful masterpiece, please. Hello, my dear lovely friends, dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the East-West Show, exclusively sponsored by Paul Batanley. That stands for Paul Batanley, a famous, internationally famous men's style suit, and that combines fashion, artistry, and lifestyle all together. Okay. Thank you, Paul Batanley, for sponsoring. Back to the show. With me today is my good friend, who I take so much pride of, who has most importantly produced a big series called Mysterious China with 18 wonderful episodes. One of them we're talking about, two of them we're talking about. We continue to touch the third, the fourth, whatever goes on when time allows. Right? Thank you, by the way, for your creation, for your mind for justice. I call it mind for justice. All right?
No, it's fairness. You know, I am a believer in fairness and fair play and fair media reporting. Fair media reporting does no longer take place in America.
Here's exactly where we click. Remember 2 segments ago I said, I'm not saying that because I'm a Chinese American who has Chinese roots.
Right.
I'm saying that because I'm a media man who wants to play fair.
That's it.
Right? I want to play fair. To play fair, though, I would say I give my most salute to your series of, what is it called? Crime Under the Rising Sun, or the Sun of
War crimes under the rising sun.
War crime under rising sun, and also
war crimes under the rising sun. 731 and Burma Road Flying Tigers.
Okay, that's a group.
Yes, because these are what I call political films. I finance them myself.
No. They are not politics to me.
Historical political films.
All right, it's
and
history.
I finance them myself because I didn't want to be called, which I am called already, paid propagandist of China.
A few days ago, I went to an event. A survivor, the only survivor lady of the chemical blast, or a chemical bomb the Japanese has created, right? Her legs and everything, and I saw that with my own eyes. I know how evil that was, right? So go ahead with that, please. I really want to see that, how you play fair to people, to humanity, please.
Yeah, the war crimes of Under the Rising Sun shows the extreme brutality and war crimes which the Japanese committed all over Asia in World War II. And I made another one called 731 because there was a unit in Harbin which was dedicated to experiments with humans. Most of them were Chinese prisoners, or there were some foreigners, Russians, and there is said to be that there were some American captured airmen there. you remember there was this, there was some, I think it was name was Doolittle. There was
Doolittle,
there was
John
some,
Doolittle.
and of that he
Colonel,
was a
Colonel,
colonel.
Colonel or General?
Yeah, and he
Doolittle,
was a
yes.
general, and he did, they attacked China, and they attacked Japan, and they were shot down and escaped to China and were captured, etc., etc.
And the farmers helped them
Yes.
to escape.
And so that Unit 731, and that was very interesting because I wanted to you see, because the understanding of especially American audience is actually always Pearl Harbor. They don't realize that there was a war going on long time before World War Pearl Harbor,
yes,
and that actually World War I did not start 1939 when Poland Hitler attacked. When Hitler attacked Poland, it started 1937 when Japan attacked China.
No, 31.
Yeah, okay, that was Manchukuo. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm going
of course,
I'm going to the Marco Polo Bridge incident in Beijing in 1937. That's for me, in my thinking, the beginning of World War II. Anyhow, so what I did was, and that is something which not many people have done, I connected the fact that there was an agreement between Japan and Germany to actually conquer the world.
Yeah, conquer the world.
And they planned to share it.
Their shares,
yes.
right?
And the big apple for Japan was China, and the big apple for Germany was Russia. And neither Japan nor Germany were ever able to control all of Russia or of China. And in the end, both lost the war because they had attacked these two giant countries, and it was just too much for them.
Okay.
So this is I call it Unit 731, but it actually shows the collaboration between Japan and Germany, and also, of course, Mussolini to a lesser degree, because he was Axis power.
All right.
That was a very interesting film because this is largely unknown in the West, and the film has been very well received here. I got a ton of awards, and among them the Humanitarian Award, which a Newsperson of the Year award, which made me, of course, very happy.
Chris, the reason I'm especially emphasizing on this one is because my folks back home, mostly northeast China, Shandong, northeast China, closer to Harbin, they did know, and they did get affected by that Unit 731, right? And of course, as a plus, the bomb, the chemical bomb, were used in southern part of China, and lots of people get killed. If not killed, the survivors had lifetime medical problems going on.
Yes, because
their skin will fall off.
I have that in the film.
Yes.
Because that's still now. There are about still 200 survivors, because when they retreated in Shenyang, in Shandong, the carelessly disposed of chemicals in the rice fields, and the farmers all of a sudden got the flesh fell off their legs.
No, not carelessly disposed, purposely disposed.
That was earlier, but in the end, they also did, and I have that in the film because they still live. There are people there, and it's looked like flesh. You know, it's incurable.
Yeah, you see
the
bones
raw,
without the flesh.
Yeah, the raw meat. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But you know, it's. You know, I'm a person who is a true pacifist.
All right,
and I never understand why people make war. And I think that when you look in back history, it is always nations who perpetuate wars who lose. And I'm very proud as a German that we Germans have learned how to deal with our history, because we have caused two major wars. We have caused
these days
sadness.
You still warn the generation and the generation next to keep that in mind. We made mistakes. We will never continue, never repeat history. Am I right?
Yes, we are a very peaceful nation now, and I'm very happy about this.
Is Japan doing the same thing?
You see, our saving grace was that Chancellor Brandt fell on his knees in Auschwitz and apologized to the world. That did not change the fact that we Germans committed horrible crimes in World War II and in World War I. But it sort of showed at least that we apologized. And as far as I understand, much to the unhappiness of China, Japan has never apologized. Really, there have been apologies, but they have not been.
That's why, from a point of play fairly, right? Being fair, you showed these episodes, you showed the footage in your film to make people see, okay, this is what they have done.
Yeah, which is the truth. The truth. Because there is, I noticed there is a yearning. There's a yearning from the common Chinese people that they want the apology, and they never have gotten it. And I mean, Shinzo Abe is being filmed in a plane which has a tail number 731.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just recently. That's just a few years ago.
That's not a mistake.
And how? And this cannot be a mistake because the Japanese are a highly cultivated and clever nation, and their public relations department must have seen this.
They kind of, that they flaunt
on purpose.
They flaunt. Shinzo Abe flaunt that 731.
Absolutely.
On the tail of his private jet.
No, not private jet. On a military jet.
No, military. Okay. Military jet anyway for his use. All right. Okay. By the way, so much for that because we are running out of time.
As always.
I really have to talk about the Burma Road / Flying Tiger or Flying Tiger / Burma Road.
There I address the fact, you see, in America, they are glorifying the flying tigers. Nobody is glorifying the Chinese peasants who, without shoes, for a bowl of rice, built the Burma Road in less than a year, while international road specialists said it will take at least 6-8 years to do this. They did it in less than a year. And then they built the airports, or the airfields up from Lijiang down to Manxi and Manxi and Kunming and Guilin, etc., in order to accommodate the American flying tigers. And this film concentrates on the plight of the farmers who, and the common Chinese with their bare hands, children, mothers with children on their back, hammering the stones in order to create an infrastructure.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
And that is something which has never been mentioned. And this ought to be mentioned, and I have mentioned it, and I'm very happy. This is probably my best film.
Yeah,
I
believe I liked it, and I believe I liked it so much. And my take is a little different from yours over this one. I believe the American fighters for Flying Tiger, in the Flying Tiger team, were recognized. They were not recognized enough. They were not given enough.
Here in America, they're very
here in
recognized.
America, even them, they were not recognized enough to the elevation that they deserve, because they were all volunteers.
In the beginning.
Yes, in the beginning. They were all volunteers.
They were mercenaries. They were very well paid.
United States never got into war with Japan until 1941 with Pearl Harbor.
Right.
That's what December 7th day, I remember deep in my blood. All right. So until that moment, America has never been involved in a war with Japan.
No.
Right. Now, what was involved was those volunteers, right? Who fought for their own will. However, the president of the United States knew that. Right? They were never promoted or recognized enough.
This is
one issue.
I politely disagree with you.
Okay. And secondly,
they were later on. They became part of the American Air Force, and the General Lee Chennault became very famous, had covers on Time magazine and so on. And no, they are very, very much honored and respected. They are all in Arlington and so on. But I think who didn't get enough was the common Chinese peasant.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a
That
bowl of
was
rice.
my part, my second
These
part.
people.
I was trying to say that when you talk about that, you always have to connect the Burma Road,
Yes.
because that was something of a mission almost impossible.
Yeah.
And the Chinese did it.
That's it.
In aiding the victory of the World War II.
Yes, absolutely.
And those are civilians.
And this is always forgotten, as in general, you see, in the West, we are very well informed about the World War II, but about what happened in China during World War II, nobody really knows, because it's not being, it is, you see, in 1945 the Cold War started, and then the whole Chinese situation was ignored and was ignored on purpose.
Very good, very good.
And this is what I felt was needed to say, and now I have said it.
Very good, very good.
And I feel good about it.
With my dear friend Chris Nibby, a wonderful creator, we have had a good time. I had a good time. Yet, due to time limit, we touched only a few of his 18 masterpieces, among which I really like the ending, which is the Burma Road / Flying Tiger. And a quote from him, he wanted to play fair. So to play fair, though, I wish him better success, or bigger success in the future. And thank you for what you have done so far. And thank you for Chinese American Film Festival who has recognized Mr. Chris Nibby as a wonderful filmmaker. My dear audience, thank you very much for watching. And to my dear friend Chris Nibby, thank you. This way, good.